just changing the way that you think about things. So change your perspective. Think back, again, when it was super busy. What was that list of things that you told yourself, if only I had time to do X, I would do it. I don't have time to do Y because I'm too busy with loans. Do you know that whole list of things that you just wish you had time for when it was super busy? How many have you done? That's what you should be spending the time on right now. Like, people actually psychologically think differently. Like, the beautiful part about a quieter time right now, you can actually think strategically. Okay, it's a very different mindset than when you're transactional and you're just busting your butt. It's such a good time to think about it. So, recreate those feelings. Think of what all those things are, because just like you, we're both preparing for battle. This is not battle. Battle's when rates start to come down and we want to win every single loan that's out there, okay? So taking the time now to prepare for what's to come, that's what we need to focus on. Realizing the opportunity. Does everyone here realize this blessing called high rates right now in mortgages? What's it mean? It means multitude of refis, okay? And rates aren't up just a little bit, they're up a ton from where they were, and not that they'll go back down to where they were. We'll wait and see. Probably will, actually, because the economy's getting kind of crappy, so they're gonna have to stimulate things and bring things down. But realizing the opportunity that's out there, that's powerful. It's positive. I look at this time, high rates, less business, it is so positive because of what's gonna come around the corner. And you guys in the bigger states, especially like California, high loan sizes, you're probably refining a lot of people at a quarter point down, 3/8 down. In Michigan, we're probably 3/8 to a half a point to really move somebody where it starts to make sense. But think of all those refinances that are on the way. It's amazing. It's a good, positive way to think about things. Find the time. You've got the time. I promise you, when you think about it tonight, you'll be like, yep, not working as hard as I used to. Find the time to do the things that you know you should be doing. And lastly, don't justify. Don't put your head in a hole and say, but Melinda, there's no loans out there. And I'll say, you know what? There's a lot of loans out there because retail's still getting more than half of them, okay? There's still loans out there. So, not only plan for your future, but go grab those loans that are out there already today. All right, putting in the effort now's the time. Invest in systems, invest in people, invest in processes, put all those things in place, preparing for battle of what's to come. Get out in your community as much as you can. Build as many relationships as you can. And it's hard to, when you're in not the great mindset to go and put yourself out there. I get it, but back to that last slide, this is a positive time. Think about it a little bit differently. It will pay off, I promise you, but what we're up against is kind of the less hardworking you, right? Most people right now, again, and I talk to so many brokers, so many loan officers, so many people are just laying down. They're just flat out working less. Put in the effort, okay? In a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever the refi boom comes back, the worst people will do 2 to 3, 4 times what they're doing today. The people who actually put in the effort now, you'll be 10-fold, 12-fold, 14-fold. It's almost like the best annuity in the world that you possibly can do, or something like that. So let's talk about a little bit on effort, motivation. So this is the majority of my life as a chief operating officer. Brian and I were talking about this earlier. He's like, how do you do it with 7,000 people? And I'm like, the hardest part is motivating people to do their greatest stuff every day to give great service. And it's hard because we think differently, we learn differently, we have different, I come into the day in a good mood, bad mood, how you feeling, are you motivated or not feeling, it's kind of crazy. It all hinges on motivation. So when we talk about, hey, Melinda's up here saying I should do all these X things, okay, but what's gonna motivate you to get those things done? So a few things. This is for me personally. I look at everything as a challenge. I want to win all the time. Danny knows this. We had a foot race. I think he stole something of mine. I almost killed him. And we ran down some dirt road, and I was about to tackle him. I think I won, right? Yeah. I know it was the egg. So I look at everything as a challenge. I'm sure there's a good handful of you guys in here too. That's what motivates me. It's a huge thing. I also have the benefit of having a very large team of brokers, very large team of clients, partners, very large team of team members here at UWM that motivates me. It motivates me to continue to take care of them, take care of their families. Like, I love the team. We got each other's back. It's a huge, huge motivator for me. Those are probably my top two. Some people have a great why. Some people have I don't know that I've got the best why in the world. Some people want to build a legacy. Some people grew up really poor and they're not going to live their life that way, and that's their why. Some people want to, their fear of losing is too great. Do you think about your why? It's probably not just so you can have a bigger house, fancier car, but truly the why behind what you do. Think about it. It can be very motivating when you think about why you do what you do if you're actually thoughtful with it. Being accountable. Oh, I tell you, if I didn't hold people accountable to anything like daily goals or whatever, I would say next to no work would get done. Okay, it's just like not human nature. Having somebody that holds you accountable, I know it sounds corny, find an accountability buddy. Find somebody out there that can hold you accountable. Find somebody out there where you're gonna say, for me, one of my goals this year is like to exercise whatever minutes per month, okay? And I tell somebody, in fact I tell Matt, and he every month he's like, okay Melinda, how you doing on that? How you doing on that exercise goal? Like, it's pretty cool. In your case, hey, I wanna call on 10 realtors this week. Okay, great. Tell me, I got your goal. At the end of the week, I call you. How's it going? I only hit 8. Okay, great. Try harder next. It's huge. Without accountability and without goals, it's really hard for people to be their absolute best selves. Contests. I love contests. They're the best. Love them. Probably because of the challenge and I like to win again. But think about when you have something to reach for. Like, I'm going to give a dumb example because we just did it at work. It was like, if I told you to do some push-ups, do as many as you can. You might do 5, okay? If I told you, like, okay, who's gonna compete? Like, one of you is gonna do more push-ups. The first person does 5, okay? And then he collapses. The second person who gets to go second, how many do they do? They're not stopping at 4, they're not stopping at 5, they're gonna hit the 6. Without that goal, without that contest, they probably wouldn't have. This is an easy way to do this too. You guys I'm sure have heard this before. Everybody raise their hand as high as they can. Go ahead, raise your hand as high as you can. Okay, now raise it higher. There you go. It all went up, right? There's always a little bit more room in there to do a little bit more. And for those of you that are a little bit crazier, bets are fun too. Okay, if you don't do your 10 calls, you owe me $100. Whoever does the most calls gets 200, whatever. Make it fun, but know yourself. Know what's gonna motivate you to be your best. Support, it's huge. Having people that can give you feedback, having people that can share in your success with you. I love the C2 family. I hope you guys, I love things like this. You have the chance to relationship build, and hopefully you take it outside of these walls all the time, but having a support system, people who get excited for you. Do you feel good when people get excited for you? Absolutely. If you don't have that in your life, go find it. People need that. It's really, really, really important. Defining success, a little bit back to being accountable. What is a successful day? What's a day where you go home and say, I worked my butt off on all of the right things, I'm a rock star today, even if the results don't prove it? Did you ever define your successful day? If not, do it. It's pretty amazing to do. Keep at it. All right, so hey, knocking on realtors' doors, whatever. I know it's a little bit different in California because most of you are realtors, not in Michigan. This doesn't really happen, but keeping at things. Like, don't just do something once, 1 day, 2 days, and say, oh, Melinda, didn't work. Sorry, I'm going to stop. Like, it takes effort. Anybody try to diet? Yeah, you're like, okay, starved myself for 5 days and I lost nothing, right? Isn't that fun? Keep doing it. I actually hate exercising. Like, okay, I'm gonna lift weights one day. Oh, my muscles didn't get any bigger. I'm gonna stop doing that. Keep at it. Things take time, okay? Keep chipping away. Don't lose your motivation for trying something because you're not seeing great results right away. We all know it's true about exercising and diet. It's true about our mental state as well. Every loan counts right now. Why? Because it means 2, 3, 4, 5 in the future, okay? Every loan counts. Every loan counts for me right now. I don't want to lose a single loan. I had to have a conversation with IT, my IT team, and they're like, oh, well, gosh, what's that new LLPA, the DTI LLPA that's out there? And they're like, well, we're going to take your time. I'm like, guys, you can't show work worst pricing for even a day. Like if the DTI isn't high, like you can't show the brokers, and they're like, well, it's only for a day. I'm like, no, if we lose one loan because our price looks worse because we're putting a LLPA on that didn't really matter, and they're like, oh, I get it. So to me, every loan counts. That's why we're doing all the crazy stuff that we're doing. Every inch matters for you. Every loan counts. If it were me, I would not lose a loan. And I have talked to so many loan officers, this comes up all the time. There's competition out there, I know. I would not let a single loan go, okay? If I had to do it for free, I would do it for free. Why? Because I got 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down the pike, okay? And I have somebody who's very loyal to me because I took care of them. So every loan counts. Try real hard with those. Client experience. You're in the service business. The panel was talking about this earlier a little bit. I'm in the service business. I look at my business as I'm only as good as my last loan. Okay, if I suck on my last loan and I burn a relationship with you, it's real hard to get it back. Even probably worse for you guys because you're a little bit more transactional. You have a transaction with a borrower who may not have a ton of history with you. Win every loan, but you got to do it with the highest level of service possible. There's some nasty, nasty statistics out there about, and I wish that I had them, I should have brought it. It was about, hey, do you remember, how many people remember the mortgage person that they used? And it's like, whatever, they remember the experience, it's a high number. How many actually come back to that person? Extraordinarily low number. I think it's something like 15% or 17%. Not because necessarily it wasn't a great experience, it just wasn't memorable enough for them to recall to call you back again, okay? So client experiences is super huge. Win every single deal, whatever you can. Hey, show the consumer that you're putting in the effort to give them the best deal possible. Bend over backwards for it. Service. Everything is about how you make somebody feel, okay? It is not about just rate in a transaction. Buying a house, is it stressful? Yes, we sell a very stressful product. People get very wound up, okay, on edge. Think about your favorite things. Think about the things that you consider are great from a client experience standpoint, okay? Think of a few last meals that you went to. Do you even remember the last couple restaurants? Think about the best restaurant that you went to. Do you still remember it? Years ago? Why was it great? Probably because they made you feel a certain way. There was an aura to the room, the server was nice. You gotta be like, what's the word? Beyond memorable. You can't not be memorable when it comes to mortgages and with all the future that we have to come. So think about your own experience. Mine, this is stupid. There's a hotel in South Carolina, Charleston, great city, like I love it anyway. Great hotel in there. And I think back, I'm like, why did I love that hotel so much? Do you know why? Because when you go into the room, a decent sized room, like there's nothing that incredible, they had unlimited local snacks. I'm an eater, I'm a total foodie. They had like 10 things that were like South Carolina only. I would go back there every time because of the free snacks. Like that's how, like when you take a step back, think about like why was something great? You're like, oh my God, I'm cheap. I got for some snacks. That's why I'd go back and pay $400 to stay here. so think about it. Think about it also from a bad standpoint too. When you have a negative thing, people remember the negative really well, don't they? Do you remember your last bad experience? Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's cool is when things do go wrong. Again, mortgages are pretty stressful. When things do go wrong, when you bend over backwards to make something right, is that memorable? Yeah. Did you ever have where the restaurant messes up and they're like, "Here's some free drinks"? You're like, "Yes, good, yeah." So it's all on how you make you feel. And the good part is, use yourself. You know what makes you feel good. That's the start of great service. Build your process around it. What do you want your clients to feel? What do you want them to feel? Do you want them to feel that you're communicative, that you're a diffuser and you help relieve the stress, that you're thinking about them, that you have empathy, and oh my God, that you actually answer the phone when they call? This one's ridiculous. There are so many people not answering their phones. I think it's because they eat slower, they walk slower, they talk slower. They answer the phone slower right now too. Like, people need the business. Answer the phone, pick up the phone. But think about what you want your client to experience. Work backwards, put it in a process, write it down. Write it down. On every loan, I'm going to do this. This is when I'm going to reach out to the realtor. This is how I'm going to do the LE explanation to the client. This is when I'm going to follow up with them when it comes out of underwriting. This is what I'm going to do at closing. This is what I'm going to do after closing so they remember me. Build a process. Stick to it. Elite client service. Whatever you like, whatever you think is great, take it up 2 notches. Nobody's ever going to say you were way too empathetic, you cared too much, you gave me too many free things and great gifts. Like, think about it. How do you make them feel? Keep raising it. Efficiency. Do keep this in mind. You don't want to don't do things now that aren't preparing you for the battle that's to come, okay? Do a good, efficient process now, even though you have time to do other stuff. Take the time now to think about efficiency, because when the world blows up again and you're going to be back to, God, I wish I would have done that thing 2 months ago that I didn't get a chance to. Think about efficiency, because when those loans start coming in, the more efficient you can be, the better experience you're going to give them, and the more loans you're going to be able to handle. All right, last one. Evaluate time. This is probably one of my biggest learning lessons at UWM. When I think back to when I was as a broker, we were a small brokerage, maybe a 10-person shop, 15 people in the heyday. I think about myself. So I'm an extraordinarily hard worker. I come from a blue-collar family. Like, no work is beneath me. I think back when I was a broker, like, I would come home, I would hand write mailers, okay? Technology wasn't so good back then. Now it's like you can have envelopes that look like they were handwritten. So back then I'm like, I would spend my time doing that. What a waste. Like, I could have hired a kid to do that while I worked on the better things, which were talking to divorce attorneys, trying to get new business, having meetings with realtors. Like, realize the value of your time. And realize the things that, back to that list of, are there things, right now, be honest, are there things you know you should be doing but you're not doing? Yes, there are. Like, for me, back then, I hated cold calling. I should have delegated to somebody, okay? Me, even now, I barely know how to use social media. So if some of you are like me, go pay a kid to do it for you. You can't not do it, right? You know you have to do it. Go do it. People, back to tendencies, they have a tendency to stay away from things that make them uncomfortable. Don't make that mistake. Either do it, delegate it, pay for it, whatever it is, just make sure that you're getting it done. So, think about it. We all have the same amount of minutes in a day, guys. We have the same amount of days in the year. The harder you work, the more time you invest now, you will rise up over what's to come. So thank you so much for the time. Thanks for letting me be here with you today. And thank you so much for your awesome partnership. Appreciate you.